This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. As we speak, Treasury Consulting is a multinational and multi-asset hedge fund. By multi-asset hedge fund, I mean to say we take positions in gold, silver, platinum, palladium, oil, spreads, natural gas, gas spreads, base metals, agriculture commodities, foreign exchange, and equities. By multinational, I mean to say we actively cover our positions in United States, European Union, and other regions. But like I repeated many a times, I repeat, like I repeated many a times, and I would continue to repeat all the times that we are a proprietary hedge fund. By proprietary, I mean to say no third party. I repeat, no third party can invest capital in our fund. None of the subsidiaries of Treasury Consulting, and Treasury Consulting himself is not asking any third party for investments. Please take a note of that. Today, I would be covering a topic which I was planning to cover for at least 6 months, from the last 6 months. But due to time constraints, I was not being able to cover. Many of you who knew me personally knew that I worked as a corporate treasurer for American companies. And more importantly, with the immense blessings of the Lord, I handled the front office desk of the treasury function, where I interacted with almost all banks of the globe. And today also, the God is very kind that we are interacting with almost all banks, including the top mutual funds. From the last 6 months, I am planning to initiate a new desk in our foreign exchange kitty. And the name of the desk is Aviation Hedging. I repeat, Aviation Hedging. Now, first of all, at onset, let me confirm that I am not bullish on aviation sector for the time being. I already made specific videos in that regards, and these videos are live on the YouTube channel. I am not at all bullish on aviation sector in 2022, 2023, probably in maybe another few years after 2023. Depends on the circumstances I am having right before me. As simple as that. But when it comes to aviation sector, the balance sheet of the aviation sector is always complicated, and the life of the corporate treasurer, I repeat, life of the corporate treasurer and the treasury function of aviation sector is always complicated as compared to the telecommunication industry, probably the banking industry, the IT industry, the manufacturing industry, and all. Because aviation sector is surrounded by a lot of issues which majority of the industry is not surrounded. And this is the reason that the success of any aviation company, I repeat, the success of any aviation company is solely dependent on the success of the treasury function of that particular company. Please take a note of that. Before I move further, there are 3 critical areas which the aviation sector needs to hedge. And when I'm using a word aviation sector, I'm not specifically covering any company, I'm covering the whole globe. Number one, you are supposed to hedge your cash flow. This validates for companies like Lufthansa, British Airways, and all these big airlines, Emirates, Etihad, those who operates across the globe. Example, Emirates operates in India, where they take ticket pricing in Indian rupee. Emirates operates in United States, where they charge in US dollars. Emirates operates in, say London, where they charge in GBP. Emirates operate in Singapore, where they charge in Singapore dollar. Emirates operate from, say, Switzerland, where they charge Swiss franc. But Emirates is actually a Dubai enterprise, which means the books are in AED, functional currency. Probably the reporting currency may be US dollar, or reporting currency might be GBP. And if it is so, then it complicates the problem. So before I move further, please take a note that the international airlines, those who are operating worldwide, Emirates, Lufthansa, Qantas, and all British Airways, all these international airlines are subject to have cash flow hedging. And if the Treasury Department of that aviation sector is not competent enough to hedge the cash flow, then it means it's a big, big mess for aviation sector. Please take a note of that. The second important thing which aviation sector is always worried is the fair value hedging. Because aviation sector is a highly gestation period business, just like telecommunication. You have to buy the planes, you have to buy the engines, you have to buy the spare parts, you have to buy the oil, you have to buy sometimes the different technologies who are coming in the aviation sector. All these things are in non-functional currency, US dollar, except for American Airlines, because American Airlines operate in America. Their functional currency is dollar. Their fair value hedge is in dollar. Henceforth, they hardly have any exposure as far as the fair value hedging is concerned. But non-American airlines, which includes British Airways, Emirates, Etihad, Lufthansa, and all these big, whereby the functional currency is AED, Swiss franc, Euro, GBP, while the fair value hedging and the stuff which is subject to revaluation at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, and at the end of the year, this is a big exposure for these airlines. Example, a Japanese airline is buying the engines from Airbus, assuming the engines they are buying is in US dollar. Okay. We have seen in 2022, very recently in October, that yen touched almost 151. Almost 151. Here, the Bank of Japan, which is a central bank, did intervention, and thankfully they took yen down to around 139 levels. From the last 2 weeks, yen is around 139 levels. But yen was 80. From 80 to 150, which means almost 90% depreciation. Almost 90% depreciation for yen and appreciation for American people. It means all the liabilities who are in US dollar regarding the engine they wanted to purchase from Airbus, these liabilities now become a mess for the Japanese airline. Common sense. When it become mess, it would be hitting your P&L, it would be hitting your EPS, and it would be hitting your your top line, your bottom line, and it would be hitting everything. Now we need to understand if that relevant airline is having insufficient fair value hedging program. If that relevant airline is having insufficient fair value hedging program, it means the mess is on the cards. Henceforth, the success of fair value hedging program is mandatory for airline industry, because remember, the for input, I repeat, for input, airline industry is completely dependent on third parties, and these third parties, majority of them are sitting in US, which means they would be charging US dollar from the airline industry. Henceforth, the success of fair value hedging is very important. Unfortunately, many people believe that the airline industry fair value hedge is all about interest rate swap, which is known as IRS. Many people believe that, but this is technically 100% wrong, because IRS is just a part of the fair value hedging. I repeat, IRS is just the one part of the fair value hedging. The scope and size of fair value hedging is very, very, very big. The third important thing, which is very valuable for aviation industry, is the lease agreements. Because gone are the days when the aviation sector used to be profitable. Of course, with the passage of time, I would be covering the balance sheet of few top aviation companies. Example, Singapore Airlines, Emirates, Etihad, Lufthansa, British Airways, and many more international airlines. I would also be covering the share price of these airlines, provided they are listed in nature. But having said that, majority of, whether they are listed or unlisted, airlines are having lease deed agreements with their respective counterparties. And unfortunately, there is a limited text we are having in the international market as far as the lease deed agreements are concerned. Unfortunately, if you open Google and you see the lease deed agreements, you have very limited text. And unfortunately, in this limited text also, the context and the content is highly limited in nature, which is definitely an unfortunate part, and I would be covering this in detail. But when you are having lease deed agreements with your counterparties, then you are having two big issues which you are supposed to resolve. Number one is definitely the regular lease payments which you're supposed to make. Number two is the credit risk. What would if the party who is providing you the lease, if he became bankrupt? Today there is no surety. We have seen that big crypto exchanges in the last 6 to 7 months, who used to spare millions of dollars on advertisement, on various brand promotions, interviews, even few of them like FTX even did political donations. When I was reading about FTX, I was like, guys, you are in a business of crypto. How come you reach to political donation? political donations. By political donation, you mean to say you are profitable and some part of the profit you are donating to political parties. And today, even they don't have money to pay to the customers, but they donate it to political parties. Henceforth, guys, if you are thinking that the party who provided you lease and this party would always become solvent, then you are absolutely incorrect, or you are not in 2022. Probably you are living in some other arena and you are not aware about what the hell is going inside the system. Please to understand that lease agreements signed between lessor and leasee in aviation sector is always complicated in nature. But unfortunately, people feel that they are not complicated, rather they are easy. I don't know whether I call this unfortunate. I don't know whether I call this fortunate, but there is a very limited disputes which we have as far as the judiciary is concerned in aviation sector. But please be rest assured, like I told you, that treasury consulting is now entering into the aviation sector. Henceforth, slowly and steadily, we would be bringing more information about that. But to conclude, aviation sector is a very gestation oriented business. No one in the world can run away from this fact. Probably few people can run away from this fact, but I can't run away from this fact. It is utmost duty of the aviation company to make sure that their treasury function, their finance function is competent enough to handle the three big issues in aviation sector. Number one is the cash flow hedging. Number two is the fair value hedging. Number three is the lease deed agreements. We have seen effective 2020, even before 2020, the aviation sector is in big mess. As I'm speaking, November 2022, aviation sector holding an accumulated, which means collectively, aviation sector holding a cumulative debt of around 650 billion US dollars. And this 650 billion US dollar of debt is supposed to be repaid. Please take a note of that. Plus, on this 650 billion US dollars, there is something called annual interest, which is supposed to be repaid. Henceforth, aviation sector needs to understand that if the treasury function is not competent, if the treasury function is having a mess, the aviation sector or the relevant company will never get success or profit. Anyways, our aviation desk is on, and slowly and eventually we would be bringing more information, more balance sheet structures of the aviation sector. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. You knew my personal number +91 9899 242 978. Let me repeat, +91 9899 242 978. Alternatively, you can visit our fixed income platform www.fixedincome.global. www.fixedincome.global. Thank you guys. Have a great time.